Lovely. So you follow Tiansheng up this winding path, this series of switchbacks, eking their way up this rather steep, terraced mountain hill. And as you do, you pass little gardens on these terraces, rice paddies, tea bushes, courtyards. This place feels very much like a home, though it doesn't feel like an ancient village. The gate, the wood of the gate looks old, but then you remember, you think of when you cross the threshold, the dirt around it didn't look new, but it didn't look like it's been buried there forever. And you notice that a lot of the wood here, there's still like fresh shavings on the edges of some of them, right? And you see the people here, a lot of the plants that they're tending to look like they've only maybe gone through a couple of, what's the word, seasons? Seasons. And then you surface the final switchback, and you find yourself at the entrance to this small, humble little courtyard that's not more grand or lavish than any other courtyard here. And you step into the abode of this presumably person following Tiansheng. She slides the door open, and there you see her, Rui. Rui is a young mortal woman, 23 years of age at most. She is draped in these white robes, green embroidery, and you see a set of fans tucked into the sash that cinches the bottom part of her robes, the skirt. She has dark skin, very dark, and black, thick locks in a low down, and these intense dark brown eyes as she's currently poring over, as far as you can tell, a map of the kingdom that you're in, a map of Tui. In fact, you see an illustrated depiction of the amethyst channel along the southwestern band of this map. And Rui is not alone. There is a man, a young man, maybe only a few years older than her, 24, 25 at most, standing across the table from her. And he does not look like any other person in this village. You can tell immediately because he's dressed in full military scale armor. He's got this like red and gold plate scale tile on with this black trim, a big, beautifully decorated gold belt buckle, and you see that he's armed, that they're not currently holding the weapons. You see a pair of dao blades strapped to his waist and a crossbow strapped to his back. And you notice that he doesn't have a helm on, so he has short black hair and these intense black eyes, but his helm is on the table with a little red poof coming out from the top of it, like a military commander might have, because some of the demon commanders of your queen's armies marching in the distance up until this point.
It's the same armor.
Exact same armor. As soon as Tiansheng sees Rui, a big look of joy, relief, a little bit of guilt creeps in, but mostly joy. She starts to step inside and like give like a big welcoming kind of body language and gesture toward Rui, and then her eyes slide to the side and rest on this guy, and it's like the difference between night and day, between winter and summer. Everything about that joy, everything about that excitement just hardens into a look that you know very well. You know this very well. You've worn it a lot. Intense, immense dislike. You don't know if Tiansheng is physically capable of hating anything or anyone, but this is the closest thing to it. She stops, freezes in her tracks, looks at this guy. Prince, you! And she reaches for her staff. Immediately, without hesitation, I cannot believe how fast Litany makes this decision. As soon as she reaches for the staff, Litany also squares their shoulders and brings their hands up above their face, prepared to punch this guy out. Because if Tiansheng, of all people, dislikes this guy, it's immediatally on site for Litany. There is no hope for him. Yeah, you square your fists, you look at this guy, you're ready to fight him, to kill him if necessary. Tiansheng reaches for that staff strapped to her back, which you, by this point, have learned its position. Reaches for Volition to draw it. The guy turns, looks surprised, shocked, and then you see shame on his face, guilt. He doesn't resist. He doesn't reach for the knife strapped to his waist. He doesn't reach for the crossbow. Doesn't do anything to defend himself. There's a moment where you think he's just gonna let Tiansheng cut him down. And then Rui raises a hand, very calmly, turns those warm brown eyes on the two of you, takes you in, but addresses Tiansheng. Tiansheng, it's okay. We can trust him. And Tiansheng freezes and says, what is that scum fucking bastard doing with Yuri? He's helping us. Helping us? Helping us? Have you gone? What are you? He burned Mudan village. He. And she starts to draw the staff like it's coming out. And then Rui does something that you've not seen anyone do or any do up until this point. Her eyes begin to glow. Vaporizes into a bright, scintillating orange, like daybreak. The rosy fingers of dawn peeking over the horizon. Protection spell, and the orange of that god. And it clicks into place what's happening here. You've never seen it in action before. At this point, the mandate of heaven. The sign of the gods of fate on the chosen village. All 5 rulers of the 5 great earthly kingdoms have the mandate of heaven, helps them stay in power. This is not a kingdom. She's not King Wu. She's a young woman, and yet here she is, radiant, yet legitimately power. Tiansheng, you have to believe me. I can explain everything. Just put the staff down, and please tell your very strong-looking friend to also lower her fists. Fine. Keeping my eye on that scoundrel. She lowers her hand, but still stares suspiciously at this prince character. Lily doesn't lower their arms yet. Yeah, okay. Then Tiansheng turns to you as she lowers her arms and just gives you a nod. She still looks careful. All right. What's going on? Thank you. Well, I suppose before I just fill you in on everything, Tiansheng, why don't you introduce our guest? I don't think anyone to feel welcome here or what's happening. I would like to do something yourself. Okay, excellent idea. So we've done this a few times, so just tell me what clearly answer the surface or a field dark on the moving. I'm gonna need an explanation for that. Okay, we're like, what the hell is happening here? Okay. So why don't you answer what feels dark on the surface or what feels dark or unnerving when you hear deeper?
What feels dark or unnerving when it feels deeper is the fact that there is very conflict, and Tiansheng just said down around we're in the village, but this seems to be everything that has led up to this moment. There is some dark darkness, and it's starting to That's absolutely right. You're just like talking about strange every single this is what we as above, so below. So this feels familiar. It appears the mortals, too, have intricate, complex, involved political machinations at play. There's a moment where Whitney sees these 3 mortals and immediately thinks of Vaikuntsing, Tantam, and Shalak, and they're like, there's something at play here.
Yes, absolutely. There's kind of like you see their faces superimposed, you hear the whispering of the mists, you see a flash of crimson on your face. That's happening. And Rui turns to Tiansheng and introduces you,
This is Lindy. Just comments. Very well. So, a cultivator from the underworld, a child of the queen of the underworld, then you are a prince? It's not just living then. And that was basically the same thing that Tianchong said. And Tianchong says, yeah, I got to on my way out of the underworld. There's a knowing look that transpires between Ru and Tiansheng, but this prince guy, Zebra, as far as you can tell, is just as confused as he's ever been. And Rui is notably looking between all of them, and she lets out a kind of knowing smile, and she walks down the war table, essentially, and looks at Rui and says, I think now is the time for me to perhaps give you about everything that's happening here. Because there's nothing I believe in more than the ability for mortals to make informed decisions. I know you're just a wanderer. But I'd like to give you the opportunity to make a decision about how you'd like to interact with me, with Chris, with Tianchong, and with villagers and our mission. Yes, our mission. I thought we just and look sideways at the Ascension Gate. And Tiansheng has still been standing at the threshold this entire time, starts sweating. You can hear the sweat like leak out of the side of her neck. Yeah. Really, the Ascension Gate that's just, really close to where we are. Gives Tiansheng a smile with a genuinely kind and a little bit of a smile that seems apologetic. He says, the Ascension Gate is... it's in front. Captain Fox. That's actually where we're headed. And that seems to be news for Tia. She snaps out of that, kind of bubble and that's where all the villagers are headed. That's why we're... But why? Rui, what's been going on? And Rui starts walking around the war table. She makes her way all the way to the threshold and stands next to you. Not as a gesture of intimidation, not as a gesture of I'm more than you, I'm scrutinizing, but in an attempt to connect with you. You feel this attempt the same way you have felt every attempt from Tiansheng these past 5 days. And as she starts to speak, as she starts to explain everything that's going on, how do you begin to take on? What is your response to her attempt at connecting? there's something here, that same battling, that same harmonizing life with life. There's a drive here of purpose. And they want to know what it is. And so you with curiosity. And Rui speaks. Allow me to tell you the story of New Mudan village from the very beginning, and my story as well. I received the mandate of heaven when I was 15. I was confronting a corrupt village elder about supplying our entire year's worth of grain for King Wu's army on his latest martial project, and they weren't listening. And then I felt it. A power, a strangeness, a color. Orange. That's right. This divine power come through me and the mandate of heaven. Red color shone through my eyes. And since then, I've been leading my people. I led my people for 6 years. 6 proud years. I took us away from the stolid traditions that King Wu insisted on, only hides of gems, only gifts of blessings for armors and weapons and magical implements for killing and death and struggle. That's not what our people need. It's not what our people need. We needed good food. We needed good water. We needed stable shelter. We needed safe childbirth. All of these things. So I started tithing to other gods, even though this was against what King Wu had ordered, even though this was against tradition. We disobeyed. I disobeyed. For the betterment of our people. And we prospered. Trade routes bloomed. We grew from a relatively impoverished hamlet to a bustling mountain town. Mudan Village. And then King Wu heard. How could he not? Some young, upstart woman with a mandate of building a new way of life, a different way of life, a way of shirked tradition, a way of life that abandoned military principles. Because yes, I abandoned. I ensured that we took a pacifist stance, that we did not train ourselves to be warriors, but rather farmers, community members, educators, artists. And he didn't like that. I was a threat to his power. So he sent his son, Prince Wu. And the prince closes his eyes, and his hand rests over the top of that helm and starts in a anxious habit, stroking the red fur that comes from the top of it. He clenches a fistful of it, and then when he opens his eyes, though his fingers are shaking along the fur, his voice is steady. My father heard. He heard of the woman with the mandate, the threat to his power. He sent me, 500 men, to the ground, to burn it to the ground. And Tiansheng crosses her arms, leans over her shoulders, how that would change. And without looking at her, Prince Wu says, "You were there? My men?" Tiansheng leans into you and says, "All by myself." Yeah. The men burn. And at that, Tiansheng freezes in like mid-float, steals her jaw, something pops in it, and you see a similar look as the one which was the time at you, but so much more intense, so much more jagged and cutting, built. Yeah, it's built, but also the same exact expression that's colored over Prince Wu's face this entire time. Shame. It doesn't look good with Tiansheng. It's shame. It makes her smaller. Vulnerable. And a spitting word from your mother's mouth, a memory cuts through her head. In this this moment, seeing this expression on Joe's face, do you think and they don't know why. They don't know how. And for the first time, they push that word away. It's not right. She just wouldn't understand.
And Tiansheng, with that skin still so hot and dark on her face, like black, leans away from the threshold, kind of curls her head to her size, squares her face against, looks down and says, "Hello?" No investor. No, I was foolish enough to be tricked.
And Prince Wu says, "Have you heard of the fight? But I reported it. He said he was sending a double 1,000 to storm the village, keep this cultivator, burn it to the ground. Kill him." But I knew this cultivator, I know we have our differences. Yeah, that's one way. Differences. But she is strong. She's powerful. Even true. I knew how strong she is. I knew I couldn't matter the size of the army. Every man she took on, she just got stronger and stronger. Thrill of it. No, honestly, I don't know what was more important. The fact that 500 of my men were defeated single-handedly by just one cultivator was spare. I knew that 1,000 around the village. I knew to grow men at this problem wasn't going to accomplish what my father had asked. So I stepped outside of the regular playbook. Had a new kind of technological innovation. And Tiansheng looks at that, turns to you and says, he said he was going to have a one-on-one fight with me away from the village, and that if I beat him fairly with tricks, then not just that they recognize me as sovereignty. I mean, I couldn't turn that down. When didn't even tell me he was
led my people away from just obeying what's always been done. That is the one thing I do not regret, no matter what. But now I know I have to couple that with our ability to defend ourselves. This is why we've taken up arms, we've taken up training. I've tied the martial forms, not Stanley here, that we accomplished, you understand, but other gods, you understand, to grant us knowledge to defend ourselves. Choice and power, that's what we need. That's what all of us need. Won't you join us? I've seen the way Tintin has been looking at you this whole time. You must be strong. What? What? Huh? I'm not looking
Tiancheng, come on, you're looking at them the way that you look at someone that you respect. Martially, of course. So will you join us?
The story is more compelling than Litany wants to believe. It's more honest than they've ever felt. In a way, it's troubling. They understand so clearly purpose. It's everything to them. It's their fists, it's their knees, it's their bones, it's their lungs that don't breathe air, it's their heart that doesn't beat. It's their purpose, right? Their purpose to kill Longdu, the immortal emperor. But these people, this mortal, all of these mortals, all three of them, they have a purpose too. And the way that Rui's hand rested on Tiangshen's shoulder, it was a purpose that loved them back. It was a purpose that would let them say mother. And something inside Litany box breaks a little? No. They want to say yes. But they can't.
Why not?
They have a mission. They have a purpose. It's about redemption. I told you already. It's about redemption. It's about killing the god they were meant to kill.
It's about your mortal heart.
It's not about that.
It's about choice.
I can't. I need to go to an ascension gate.
Understood. But, fate smiles upon us all. That's where we're headed. Like I said, we're going to Chuancheng, and the Ascension Gate is in the capital. And Tiansheng, as you deliberate, says, "Why are we going to Chuancheng?" And Rui's smile grows. You see, Tiansheng, when you set out 3 weeks ago on your quest and you stole the river seal from King Wu, and Tiansheng goes, "Oh, we don't have to, right, okay. Yep, that's where I got the river seal. 3 weeks ago, as Rui so explicitly said in great detail, I snuck into the capital, my transformations, disguised as an attendant, right? Well, what have you. A very cute attendant, by the way. Very gender. Went into the throne room, stole the river seal from its seat of honor, because what happened at Mudan was my fault. And for the past 2 years, I've seen the villagers suffer and train, and
It was your purpose.
it was my purpose. Exactly. So I knew what had to be done. This is all about the gods. This has always been about the gods. Rui, even your power, your ability to lead, your ability to build Mudan up to what it was because of the mandate of heaven. Because the unnamed god that chose you. So I thought, if I was able to go up to the city of heaven, talk to your god face to face, maybe I could convince them to directly help us. Maybe I could convince your god to reveal themselves instead of having to hide. There's something about Rui's god, their identity needing to be kept a secret. Something about how it's against the rules for them in particular to choose a champion.
Well, yes. It's because they're the emperor's virtue.
And Prince Wu says, "What? That's the god who gave you your mandate? The virtue of heaven? Themself?" And Rui says, "Dita, don't get it. Yes. But kind of like, yeah, well, I guess I am a boss bitch." Kind of like, but like trying to be humble about it. Like, yes, but they made me because they still have it. The violet's still here. Before my chance in the limelight is gone. Because we mortals, we only live for so long. We have to make our lives count, right? Right. I wanted to talk to someone and convince them to stop being such a coward and be open about it and support us directly. So I did the Ascension Gate right outside. Right outside. And it was the gods there, they are lookers, let me tell you that. But as soon as I tried to find the virtue, I tried to go to this hall of grand fate, Peerless Destiny. Yeah, the hall of Peerless Destiny. Anyway, I tried to go to the hall of Peerless Destiny, but I guess they found out pretty quickly that I wasn't supposed to be there. I mean, I had a book collection group, the head administrator did a strict tally of where all the river seals were supposed to belong, and I wasn't on the list. I tried to make my way into the hall of Peerless Destiny and find Xiaocheng before I could even get inside this huge god, this gentlewoman scholar person with this big flaming sword. She bat me all the way back down to the mortal realm, and I think I would have died, probably. Yeah, I probably would have died from the fall. But then I think it was because I was holding the river seal that I fell through the cradle and, well, you know the rest. Into the... Yeah,
Whitney gives Tiangshan a long, rather withering.
she shrivels under it like a little raisin.
And then they pivot to Ruth. I'll travel with your winds of change until I reach the we would be honored to have you, because the time to strike is now. After the river seal was discovered missing, King Wu sent out the vast majority of the standing army remaining in Chuansha to look for it, which means the capital is, and Tiansheng comes in with understanding. Skeleton crew at most. That was the perfect time. The way to get in, and she looks reluctantly at this. I have maps of the palaces. I have maps of the secret tunnels that will lead us right to the throne room. Even your rebel campus, 500 some, 600 some, would be able to take the capital easily, right now. But, as Julie said, the time to strike. And Tiancheng. Okay, one last question. Why the hell is he here? Like that? Why is he? What? And Prince Wu says, I defected. I defected. You know, that's actually the first time I said that out loud. I disobeyed my father. I defected. I'm never leans against the table. Like a traitor, you know? Traitor to my kingdom. But 2 years ago, when I failed to bring the death of this, of you, Rudy, to my father, he demoted me. And I have had a lot of time in these past 2 years. I've always been torn between making my father proud, being the son he wants me to be, and the people he chose. It just to kill the princess. Turns that face, that expression of sorrow and empathy that he had held for Tiansheng onto Prince Wu. I've never seen anything like it before. Someone holding this sword for themselves, but in a way that isn't jagged, in a way that doesn't in a way that feels kind, weak, snarls your mother's voice in your head. Kind, weak, kind. He says to Tiansheng, to Prince Wu, perhaps also to you. And it's not a judgment. It's not an indictment. It's not a slap. It's just a statement of fact. And she follows it up with, that's
Because yes, I failed my people when I chose the route of pacifism, when I completely shirked some of the lessons of tradition. And yes, I also failed when I used the Mandate of Heaven to stand against King Wu. Because in his eyes, that made me a failure of his kingdom. That made me a failure of the village. And in his eyes, you, Prince Wu, are also a failure. By choosing not to commit slaughter, by choosing your people, you failed. You failed him. And Tiansheng, my dear Tiansheng, my protector, my knight, my stalwart hero, you blame yourself. I know you do. You have failed as well when you were tricked by Prince Wu. But truly, it was us who failed for relying on you solely to protect us, to protect our village. And perhaps there is a failure for you as well, to think that you are the only one able to shoulder that burden. Let us help ourselves. That's the best way you can help us. Yes, we need your strength, Tiansheng. Don't turn your face from me now. We need your strength. But we must also shepherd our own. As for you, Litany, name of a weapon, name of a person, I know not your story. I know you are the daughter of Queen Tigu, a very fearsome and impressive and burden-filled name. I know not of your story, I know not of your failures. But I hope that these breaks do not define us, but help guide us toward a path we get to tread ourselves.
Never before has a mortal spoken litany like this. They've never heard anyone speak like this. And there is a moment where it's no wonder that she has the Mandate of Heaven. But that awe is crushed by the weight of the words that she wields. And it's there. The shame, the guilt, the failure, it's all there. And I think for the first time, Litany is in a fight they can't win. They don't know how to quash this. The tenants, how could the tenants help them here? There are no gods to kill. Their purpose is faltering. And that strike of fear dips into the center of Litany, cracks them open again, and I think they just look at Rui, look at Tiansheng, look at even the prince whose face looks just like theirs, and they nod once. May the winds be in your favor, then. And they stumble backward out of the room. They turn, they go.
I think on seeing you stumble, right, there's a moment where something in Rui's gaze flickers. She says, and may hope sing from every peak. We leave at dawn, is everything? And you hear Tiansheng go, oh, yeah, Litany? And you hear footsteps following you out.
For a moment when they're alone on this little porch out front, they don't go very far. They don't run anywhere. Where are they going to go? They don't know anything about Yalan. They need to stay here. They need to focus. They need to be a better god killer than this. Right? Right. There's a moment where they just take a beat. And they hear it. Their mortal heart. The dum. The dum. The dum. The dum. They are a failure. And for so long, they've lived under the weight of that. But this place is weightless. How can that be? Really? Could they also